Hi, my name is Wong, and in this video I want to share several more tips on using your Olympus OM-D your Olympus OM-D camera. Let's do this. If you have been following me for a while now, you will have found out that I've made many videos before sharing tips and tricks on using the Olympus OM-D system. These videos, it is not surprising that they are the most popular ones on this channel. Although I'm no longer an Olympus visionary at this moment, that doesn't stop me to continue to share as much as I can here. And I still have quite a few more tips and tricks to spare. Tip number 1, customizing image file size and compression settings. I know that this tip is only applicable if you are shooting JPEG. If you are shooting RAW exclusively, like myself included, please also be considerate to those who have just started out in photography. For newcomers who may not know anything about the camera, starting with JPEG is the right way to go. Now, I have also seen cases where I brought people out to shoot on photo outings, workshops, and they have accidentally set the file size JPEG to small normal. That means, although the camera is capable to capture 16 or 20 megapixel images, which is what you're paying to get, right, the best out of the camera, but they only come home with 2 megapixels or less images. To prevent that from happening, here is what you can do. You can access the file size and compression settings from the Super Control panel. Press OK to bring up the Super Control panel, and it is here, down here. So large super fine, you go in here, you can shoot RAW or various JPEG sizes. If you go medium normal or small normal, you can see that you get very small resolution. Small normal is about less than 2 megapixels. That's really bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive deep into the camera and disable all this medium normal and small normal so that we only have a large super fine or large fine to choose from. Press menu. Under menu, then go to the gear icon. Under the gear icon, you go to G. Inside G, you will see that here, it will say modifying JPEG record modes from combinations of image size and compression rate. Great, that's what we want. Press OK. Here are all the presets. Now change all the sizes to large, which will guarantee that you get full 16 or 20 megapixels depending on which camera you have. Then you set to various compressions. I'll probably leave to large fine. Once this is all set, all the presets, 4 presets with L, which is the full resolution of a camera, and at least fine or superfine. Superfine will give you the best compression. Once this is done, if you go back to the main screen again, and if you go to the Super Control panel to all the presets, you will see that there is no longer small normal or medium normal, and you get all the full resolution no matter which presets that you choose. No more mistakes. Tip number 2, do not turn on wind reduction setting if you don't need it. In the video recording settings, under the audio tab, there is an option for wind reduction. If you are shooting in a very, very windy condition and the wind does get into the audio, it is destructive, then you may turn on this to reduce the wind effect, the pickup while you are shooting the video. However, for normal recording, when there is not much wind, please turn it off. If you turn on the wind reduction, you will get a very teeny sound from your audio recording. Here is a sample. Now this is how I sound with the wind reduction setting turned on. I may sound a little bit thin, it sounds a little bit processed, somehow the audio is not the best that it's supposed to be, and I highly recommend you to turn it off. To find the wind noise reduction, go to menu. Under the menu, then you find the video recording menu, specifically the video menu. Here is the third tab on my EM1 Mark II. Depending on which camera you have, it may be on a different tab, but it's in the video menu. Then you go to the audio settings. Here, movie sound. Go in further, then you'll find wind noise reduction. Wind noise reduction, go in, you have low, standard, or high. Just turn it off. Please don't turn it on. Even at low or standard, you still get some very teeny sounding vocals, and it just sounds unnatural. Just turn it off. Of course, you can come here and turn it back on again if you are dealing with very, very windy conditions, but generally just leave it off. Tip number 3. For flash photography, turn on the live view boost. I've heard many times DSLR shooters migrating to mirrorless system. They love the what you see is what you get, the live exposure simulation. As they adjust the aperture and shutter speed, they can see all the changes of exposure live. However, when they do flash photography in studio setup, where they use the large strobes, as let's set the aperture to f8, shutter speed to 1/250th of a second, ISO 100, they can't see anything. The EVF and the LCD screen is black. They can't see the model or the product that they are composing. And they say, yeah, this is why I hate mirrorless system. DSLR is the best system because I need to see what I shoot. And in my DSLR, the optical viewfinder, everything is clear. You know what? Sometimes it does get a little bit tiring to speak to so many photographers. And the worst part is they thought they know everything. When I told them that, hey, you know what? You can turn off the live exposure simulation, whatever camera that you use, Fuji mirrorless, Sony mirrorless, Panasonic mirrorless, or Olympus mirrorless, all of them, you can turn off the live exposure simulation, and even whatever camera settings you can set, you can see everything clearly. And they don't believe me. You know, they'll say that, you know what, I've been shooting with my Sony mirrorless for the past 3 years. I didn't know that there was this setting in the camera. If there was such a setting, I would have known. Who are you to tell me what I know and what I don't know? I'm a professional photographer. Who do you think you are? That has happened to me so many times, but hey, I think that's a topic for another video. But here I'm to tell you that for your Olympus cameras specifically, for OM-D cameras, you can turn on and off for the live exposure, and that's how you can do with your live view boost. If you shoot with flash, if you shoot in a studio environment, just turn on the live view boost. The live exposure simulation is really helpful as you do aperture and shutter speed changes. What you see is what you get simulation helps you to compose. You see the result even before you press the shutter button. However, when you're doing flash photography or studio environment, I'll probably set the shutter speed to 1/250th of a second and aperture to f8. Now you see everything is dark. But as I press the shutter button, because I have flash, I still get a properly exposed image, no problem here. Now, the only issue is that I can't see what I'm composing because of live exposure simulation, and sometimes it's important to see the model's expression or poses, and you can't do that with what you see is what you get. So to disable this, go to Menu. Under the menu, go to the gear icon, find D2, D for Denmark, 2. Then we have live view boost. Just turn it on. If you're doing manual, just turn it on, set to on 1, or if you're not using manual, if you're shooting with aperture priority or shutter priority or any other modes, then you can use this and turn it to on 1. But I'll just leave this to off. I'm shooting manual, so on 1. Once this is enabled, now you see that whatever changes that I do to my aperture or shutter speed, the screen is still totally constantly bright and properly exposed. And let's say that I adjust it to this setting, take a photograph, still looks perfectly fine. Let's say I change it to 1/80th and maybe go to 1/14 of f14, still looks perfectly fine, no issue. So for flash photography, turn the live view boost to on. Tip number 4, lens image stabilization, focal length information. this is not necessarily a tip, it is more like a clarification. Over the years, I've received so many emails and questions asking the same question. Now, there's this setting in the camera for image stabilization where you can key in a specific focal length. The reason why this setting was there is so that you can input the focal length of the manual lens that you're attaching to your Olympus OM-D camera. If you attach a 50mm lens, then you key in 50mm focal length. The reason why this is necessary is because the camera body does not recognize the manual focusing lens that you are using. There is no electronic contact, there is no communication between the camera and the manual lens. It is very important for the camera to know what lens it is, what focal length that you're using, because the camera stabilizes different focal length differently. The IS doesn't work the same if you're using a wide-angle lens or telephoto lens. Because the camera doesn't know what lens you use, you just have to tell the camera what lens it is. It is as simple as that. Most common question that I ask is, if I attach an Olympus lens, a Micro Four Thirds native mount lens, or a Panasonic lens that does communicate with the camera electronically, a digital lens, do I need to change the focal length? The answer is no. Even if you have keyed in any focal length, 300mm, 50mm, or 25mm, it doesn't matter, because once you attach an electronic lens, an Olympus or Panasonic Micro Four Thirds native lens, the camera will automatically recognize that, it will communicate with the lens, and you will know what lens it is, and that information will override whatever that you have keyed in manually for that information that I've mentioned earlier. So the answer is, if you use Olympus or Panasonic digital lens, don't worry about it. Everything just works perfectly. Tip number 5, change the white balance setting to sunny if the colors look wrong on the camera. I have relied on the auto white balance most of the time. I've shot professionally over the years, and even for my personal projects, I've always used auto white balance on the Olympus OM-D. It has never failed me. However, in some very rare occasions, in mixed lighting conditions or in low light, artificial light, sometimes what you see in real life may not be the same as what's shown in the camera. The camera white balance engine does struggle in some very difficult situations. In such conditions, don't worry, some people panic and say, oh no, the camera can't see the actual colors, I'm capturing all the wrong kinds of colors. Now here's what you have to do. Just set the white balance to sunny, and you should get as close as possible to what you see in real life. That's all I have to share about tips and tricks on using the Olympus OM-D camera this time. If you have found any of these tips useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal account. I'll put the links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way and will help me to continue making videos like this and continue to publish them right here. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you've not done so, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Until then, please stay safe and go out to take more photographs if you can. Bye-bye.